Across the internet, people have come forward with encounters with an entity that they still can't fully explain, and that left them questioning what they actually saw. Today, we're looking at some of the creepiest, true Skinwalker encounters Reddit has to offer. Some of these are genuinely unsettling, so stick around to the end. And if you enjoy horror content like this, go ahead and subscribe. Alright, let's get into them. The first story's title is, "It Fucking Spoke to Me." I'm not one to post these kinds of things. I mostly just have Reddit to look at bugs and read about roommate drama. But I had an experience in the woods one night almost 10 years ago that got brought up recently, and I thought I'd share here. I, female 16 at the time, snuck out of the house to go smoke weed in Lynn, Massachusetts woods at about 3 a.m. It's not a huge sector of woods, just a wee reservation smack dab in the middle of the Boston suburbs surrounding the local reservoir. I got to the entrance of the trail, parked my car, and made my way to the campsites. About a 5-minute walk, where there were fire pits available. It was a popular smoking area for teenagers, and I was one of them. I set up to draw by the fire I had made and began to roll a joint. As I was rolling, I heard something on 4 legs come up from behind me. I didn't sweat it that much, because where I am from, the worst it could probably be is a coyote. But then, you could hear it transition into 2 legs and walk with a bipedal gait. That confused me. Then everything went fucking silent. No crickets, no birds, nothing. The only thing I could hear at that point was the crackling of the fire and my own breathing. Then I became really concerned, like something bad was about to happen. I call out, thinking maybe it was just a homeless dude working up the courage to ask me for some food or some money, since it was the city after all. I say hello and ask if anyone's there. Silence still, for about a minute. Everything's telling me to run, but I stay because I thought if it was an animal trying to hunt me, I should stand my ground and make myself appear I'm not worth the risk. Then whatever it was, it talked. It sounded almost like a parrot mimicking its owner's voice, and it asked to bum a light.
Can I bum a light?
At first I'm relieved because at least I know it's not an animal, but the way it spoke was truly uncanny. I said, "Sure, but you have to come out where I can see you. You're giving me the creeps, dude." And then it asked again and again, 3 times.
Can I bum a light? Can I bum a light? Can I bum a light?
Then I was really freaked and knew something was really wrong. I then told it to fuck off and find someone else to ask if he was going to be creepy about it. Then it ran off on all 4s. You could hear all 4 feet hitting the ground as it ran away. The crickets came back. The night birds started to chirp again, and the air even felt warmer. That feeling of dread washed over me, and I knew I had to fucking book it. Part of me still believed it was just a dude trying to get creepy with a 16-year-old girl in the woods by herself. And if I played it cool and acted like I wasn't scared, maybe he'd back off. My mother always taught me to make a scene in that scenario, and I was prepared to knife whatever came at me. I also thought maybe, if it was an animal, I wouldn't trigger its hunting instinct if I just walked instead of ran. But man, every hair on the back of my neck was standing up. That feeling of being watched is definitely real. I finally see my car about 200 feet ahead of me. I feel safe again, but I'm still on alert. I feel secure enough to look behind me, and sure enough, maybe 40 feet behind me is a male deer on its hind legs in the middle of the trail. I fucking freak. I've never heard of a skinwalker, never believed in anything like them at the time, never even knew what they were, but I knew something about that image was seriously wrong, and I lost my composure and booked it to my car. I made it back no problem and drove off before I could even turn my headlights on. To this day, I'm 24, about to turn 25. I have never been back to those woods, or really any woods for that matter. I'm deathly afraid of nature now, which sucks. The very idea of spending a night in them makes me so anxious. I feel nauseous. It wasn't until years later when I fell into a YouTube rabbit hole in college, when you just pick one video suggested on your recommended page and let autoplay take you wherever, that I stumbled on a video that described skinwalkers and alleged experiences people have had with them in the woods that I truly began to understand what I may have encountered that night. This shit is real. I don't know if they're as aggressive or dangerous as people make them out to be in the stories I've seen online, because in my experience, it seemed pretty curious and backed off when I confronted it. Still, thinking it was just the creepy dude looking to score, but to this day, thinking about it makes me shudder and I get a put in my stomach. I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts on this. I'd love to have this debunked even. I love those woods and sort of want it to just have been a weird dude. But I've heard some weird, very similar stories from the locals about those woods, and now I don't know what to think. I think that's something very common when it comes to these Skinwalker stories, is that nature just goes completely silent. That's creepy as fuck. I still do find it kind of funny that it starts asking to bum a light though. Alright, continuing to the next one. It is titled An Arizona Desert Experience. So, this is a story I've told to very few people due to it scaring me half to death, but it's coming up on a year since it happened, so I figured might as well share. I'm still pretty new to Reddit as far as posting / interacting in communities is concerned, so I hope I don't annoy anyone with the length of this. To that end, I'll save anyone reading the suspense of knowing I did not see a creature, but I would swear on my life I felt the presence of something that I cannot describe. I was out west last year around late October / early November for a backpacking and hiking trip. Suffice to say, I needed to clear my head, and this was part of a 2-month sabbatical I took from my home. During this time, I lived primarily out of my car on the East Coast. For the portion of my hiatus related to the story, I ventured to Utah. I spent 8 days total seeing all 5 national parks and having generally a fantastic time. I would certainly recommend to anyone reading to visit any and all of those places. The thing I would not recommend, however, is to do what I do and go alone. I was gambling with a lot of different dangers in that I traveled by myself and both backpacked and camped by myself in some less than safe places. I was at a very low point in my life and struggling with depression. I felt very little reason to go on or care for myself at all. So I made decisions most rational people probably wouldn't make due to a lack of safety. The night of my encounter, I guess we should call it, I was on my way from Zion to the north rim of the Grand Canyon. This was early in my trip and I had yet to see the stars in the desert. I'm from the East Coast and there's too much light pollution where I am to really get a good look at the Milky Way. I left Zion about right before sunset, and by the time I had crossed into Arizona, the sky was full of stars like I had never seen in my life before. I pulled over on a shoulder. I imagine they're made for truckers to rest, as this is a 2-lane highway and no shoulder exists apart from these random sections I would come across, and just took it all in for about 15 minutes before driving on. Now, the North Rim is about 3 hours and some change from where I was. Somewhere along the route, I was messing with my music and managed to screw up my directions in a spot without great service. When I finally got it back, I clicked the first Grand Canyon option that came up, figuring it would choose whatever was closest. That was my big mistake. I went up into the Kaibab forest and passed the turn I needed to take to get to the North Rim without ever knowing it. I came down the road and into the desert once again, passing one small town before hanging a right into the nothingness of the desert before me. I had so much on my mind and had zoned out a bit while driving that I didn't really realize how long I had been on this trip. Eventually, it hit me. I should have been to the North Rim by now. It turns out I had gone about 60 miles into the desert before ever realizing my blunder. During this time, I saw less than 5 cars. Miraculously, I had service and got the right route. Thankfully, no one was waiting for me or traveling with me, so I didn't consider it such a terrible mistake beyond lost sleep and the price of gas. So I thought, oh well, at least while I'm out here, might as well have another look at these stars. This is where it began. I pulled off in another one of those shoulders after turning around and got out. I don't really even remember looking up because I stepped out into what I can only describe as a presence. I felt a mixture of a lot of things. I felt watched, as though I was being stared at intently and viciously. I felt hated. That is the only way I can describe it. Whatever was staring at me deeply desired to harm me, and I could feel it shooting down my spine just seconds after I stepped out of the car. Never in my life had I ever felt anything like that, and I hope to never again. I will never forget the sensation of getting out of that vehicle. I had an instinctual feeling that I needed to get back in the car as quickly as possible and drive immediately. It was like an alarm in my head repeating over and over, "Get back in the car right now and drive." Every second I stood out there, it heightened. I wasn't out of the car for more than 20 to 25 seconds, and even that seemed an eternity. I floored it out of there, expecting to feel better quite quickly. I did not. I now felt another feeling I had never experienced and hope to never again. I was being chased. Even typing this now, it still seems crazy and unbelievable to me, and I still try to rationalize that I psyched myself out. But I remained steadfast and convinced. I was going upwards of 85 miles an hour, and I would swear on my life that something was behind me even at that speed. Paranoid, I kept tapping the brake lights to see if I could make out anything, but I couldn't. This dreadful feeling persisted until I saw the town I had passed earlier, some 50 miles away from the initial encounter. I didn't feel completely safe again until I was into the kaibab forest. Now, I'm aware this far in the desert there's gonna be wildlife around me, but remember, I didn't care a whole lot, and I know full well there's not an animal that wants to be near me any more than I want to be near it. So I generally wasn't worried about that. Whatever this was, I firmly believe was not an animal. I know that AZ and Utah is a strange part of the country full of strange stories, encounters, and conspiracies involving government cover-ups and experiments. So I'm not sure exactly what to chalk it up to. I did do some research after that, and the best I can figure, I may have come across something similar to a skinwalker. I'll also say that I did venture out of the car several more times at night to see the stars while driving through Utah, and not once did I experience anything like this again. While I am a man of faith and I generally don't believe in a lot of urban legends, I do believe there is demonic activity and/or an inexplicable amount of stories and encounters for me to simply say there's nothing to it. I was vaguely aware of some of these legends before my trip, but didn't pay a whole lot of attention to them. After the certainty I feel in my own experience and from what I've read, I can say there is definitely some truth to these that I myself can vouch for. Honestly, I want to hear y'all's opinions on this story. Do you think he was just scaring himself, or was there really something behind him? This story doesn't say anything about seeing anything, it was just feeling something. I've never experienced anything like that, so I think maybe that's why I'm a little skeptical. I don't know. Let's get on to the next story. Skinwalker in the Arizona woods. This happened in July of this year in the northeastern part of Arizona, south of the Native American reservation. I've never had any experiences with skinwalkers before, but honestly, after reading about them, I'm thoroughly convinced I saw one. There was one time I went camping with two of my buddies, but neither of them are the real outdoorsy type. I was just kind of getting them into the whole camping/hunting scene. Now, I love hiking, exploring, more like because I hate just walking a trail. You're seeing nothing new. So took the two friends out there a ways and got 2 miles from camp when they just wanted to go back. I said fine and showed them where to go on my phone and made them put a waypoint on the other little GPS thing I had to follow. I wanted to keep going, so I did so by myself. They wanted the pistol I had on me for safety reasons, leaving me to walk alone in the forest with water and nothing else. No big deal, I thought. I followed the path at the bottom of this thing, which was at this point just a dry riverbed. I walked down and it got steeper as I went further south. When I crossed a certain point, something just felt wrong. I started trying to look around for anything, but there was a huge log across the two hillsides, and when I crouched down to crawl under it, it felt like I was being watched. I looked up to my left, saw nothing, looked around to see if there was anything in the middle of the riverbed, then looked up to the right. Huge black canine, too small to be a bear, but it looked like a wolf on steroids. That dog creature and I held glances for what felt like hours, but I know it couldn't have been more than 10 seconds. Every passing moment made the feeling of dread worse. I moved backwards to get the hell out of there, and when I moved, the wolf thing just booked it into the forest, further from camp. In hindsight, This thing was moving way faster than any dog I've ever seen. He walked back was eerie. It didn't feel much as I was being watched, as to just the feeling of it will catch me eventually. And that's why I don't ever hike alone anymore. Alright, and that's 3 of the most unsettling Skinwalker stories that I had found on Reddit. Let me know which one was your favorite. I definitely want to make more of these kind of videos, and if the feedback is positive, I don't see why I wouldn't. If you've ever had an experience of your own, please leave it in the comments. I also drop all my videos early on Spotify, so please check that out if you're interested, and I'll see you guys in the next video.